All right. All right. So we are live on Facebook. That should be going to a couple channels. So we'll give it a few moments here, see if anybody jumps on with us, and then we'll start
All right.
from Orozona. How's the weather there? Good?
It was a bit brisk today. Yeah, it started out in the low 20s, but we found our way up to the low 50s, high 40s in the
Yeah.
shade.
We had huge storms that came through last night. It was really, yeah, pretty intense.
Oh boy, wow.
So, yeah. So, anyways, all right, we're going to just go ahead and get started. When people jump on, they jump on.
Okay.
Um, so, welcome. My name is Christine. I am with A Naturally Balanced Dog, and I am here today with Cleb Bright from Orzo CBD Oils. And so, before we get started, I just wanted to welcome everybody to the channel. We'll be doing Facebook Lives on a weekly basis. Every week, we'll have a new guest. And so I'm really excited to talk about a topic that I think is a very hot topic. CBD oils have been around for quite some time. However, certainly, I think people have a lot of questions, particularly pertaining to their pets, as well as their self, as to some benefits that they might have. So I would like to welcome you. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for
Um,
having me.
yeah, I'm really excited. So you are with Orozona Oils. And so maybe you could just share the reason that you even got into CBD. How did that come about for you?
Yeah, well, it's been a long journey. Hemp and all things related have been an area of interest for me for the last 25 years or so. And so, in more current times, with the regulations easing on hemp and seeing more and more hemp products come to the market, whether it's CBD, like we'll discuss today, or uh, textiles, or biofuels, or plastics, things of this nature, all things hemp coming to availability for us once again is really exciting for me. I love that. It's all things related. CBD is close to my heart, and so that's where I keep my focus. I love health and wellness and seeing people and their animals transition from feeling not so well to, hey, I gotta skip in my step again. That's
Yeah.
very rewarding.
I think one of the things that's really interesting is I think that when people seek out stuff like CBD oils, they're seeking it out usually because it pertains to something that might be going on with them or with their pets and things like that. And I think that in a lot of cases, that's how people kind of start out with an interest. It's like all of a sudden something's going on, and it's just like, how do I help them? Maybe they go to, a veterinarian or something, and they've kind of got one aspect, but they're reaching out looking for other alternatives as well.
Yeah.
So my question to you
Mhm.
would be, one of the things that I notice is there's CBD oils, and most people realize that CBD is a hemp oil. What is the difference between CBD, hemp oil, and like a hemp oil you would buy at your health food store? Because when you go to your health food store, I think a lot of people confuse, they'll see hemp oil
Yeah.
and they think that that has the same quality and benefits as hemp CBD oil.
Right. No, it's a common mistake, but one that's easily cleared up. Hemp seed oil, like you were describing, that you find at the health food stores, has been available for a long time, because that is the squeezings, like cold pressed squeezings of hemp seeds. And they're rich in omegas and fatty acids, and it's really good for us. It's good brain food. But it's completely different than the properties we see displayed in the aerial parts of the hemp plant. So the leaves, the flowers, and the leaves and the flowers display CBD, as well as other cannabidiols. CBD is one of several um, um, cannabinoids, that are found present in that plant. And all of them have tremendous benefits. CBD is in the spotlight right now. It's famous for reportedly reducing inflammation and helping reduce pain, actually getting in on a neurological level and helping rewrite those pain signals in the brain, which become like ruts in a road. And CBD promotes neuroplasticity, so it gets in there and helps to rewrite those pain signals. And so I think it's a great thing that we're seeing this availability now, and it is totally other than hemp seed oil, which is great for your joints and things like this, and all things that omegas and fatty acids are good for, but it doesn't have this special ingredient of the CBD and CBN, CBG, to name a couple of the others.
Right. I think one of the confusing pieces that people have is like they think that when they take a CBD oil, they get high. There's
Oh,
that sector of feeling like not yourself.
yeah.
And so is that something that people need to be concerned about, like giving CBD oil to their pets, that their animals are going to be like stoned?
Well, as long as we're strictly dealing with CBD and we don't have THC in the mix, and typically in the CBD world, that is the case. Unless you're buying something from a dispensary or someplace that is um, allowed to sell marijuana, you're just dealing with CBD, which will not give a psychoactive effect to either you or your
Right.
pet. It will
Yeah.
help relieve the things like anxiety, but it will not cause you to feel high. It will not cause you to, or your pet to feel high either.
Yeah, I think that's a concern that people will have, is that using CBD oil, that it's going to have that psychotropic effect on their pets.
Yeah,
And so sometimes that might be a reason why they are not interested in trying that.
yeah,
But like you said, so, how do people recognize a quality CBD oil versus something of not quality? CBD is all over the place now. I mean,
yeah.
it's just splashed on buildings. You go into 7-Eleven carries a CBD oil now, which I think is funny. But irregardless, how do people know if it has any quality to it?
Yeah.
Because a lot
So,
of people might think it's just like a snake oil. You know what I mean?
and a lot of them are, just like every other sector of the industry and every other type of product you consume, there are all sorts of variations. So when it comes to finding a good quality CBD, there are several things to look for. And I do have some videos on my YouTube channel, by the way, that help to clarify some of this in a little bit more detail. But really, it comes down to a few things. One would be the extraction method. We want to be careful to know how the material is being removed from that plant. There are a variety of ways to do that, some of which are more harmful than others to the overall structure of the plant, and which affects its efficacy for the end user, such as using hydrocarbons, ethanol, butane, things like this, that very rapidly strip the oils from the plant, from the biomass, but at the cost of other constituents in the plant. So that's really not a favored method for me. There's other methods that are less effective, but what we are feeling like is the best method is CO2 extracted. So it's a supercritical CO2, carbon dioxide, that effectively, using pressure and temperature, strips the lipids and the oils from the biomass, which is then refined into what's called a gold grade hemp extract. And that gold grade hemp extract is going to contain as many constituents as possible that were represented in the original plant growing out of the ground. So what that means is we're not losing some of the balance that plant demonstrated as just as a species growing out of the ground, which is chock full of wonderful things. It's not just CBD. So understand that CBD, like I said earlier, is in the spotlight right now, but there's so many constituents in this plant that make it wonderful, including things like vitamin E and amino acids and fatty acids, omegas. It's a tremendously beneficial oil. So we want to keep as many of those players in the game as possible. And supercritical CO2 extraction allows for that, where some of these other methods will deteriorate those qualities. It will have the effect of raising the percentage of the CBD, but it's at the peril of all these other players that were once involved. And in my opinion, the overall efficacy declines at that point. So that's the extraction point. And then we go further and we look at, well, what type of CBD are we looking at on the shelf, let's say? Is this a CBD isolate, which is 99.9% CBD, which to me is like white bread. If you think of in terms of health and wellness, you're going to consume white bread or you're going to consume a sprouted grain whole wheat bread or something like this. The answer is clear. You want something that's got life still in it. And with a CBD isolate, they have refined from this biomass, this plant, they refined it clear down to a white water-soluble powder, which is great for industry because you can mix it in anything.
Right.
Soda pop, popsicles, candy bars. You can make, put it on your pizza if you want. It's a water-soluble powder that's 99.9% pure CBD. So there are no more lipids or oils in it, understand, which is important. Right. Because when you understand that the body is going to attract the CBD into the fats of the body, all the organs, the brain, all the organs, the lymphatic system, where it's heavy concentrations of fat, that's where the CBD finds its home. And so if we are isolating it down to a white water-soluble powder, we lose that bonding ability with the body.
Right. Kind of, it reminds me like when I worked in the health food industry, a lot of people are familiar with like, fish oils, the omega-3 and the omega-6. Those are kind of the key factors. And people are really surprised when they actually find out that the omegas actually has, a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's many pieces in that strain, and all they kind of do is they picked out these 2 little items. However, there's a lot to be said when they isolate those 2, that you lose quality within the chain because the plant in itself, or in the case of fish oil, that strain is a perfect strain. Each one helps facilitate the other one and give balance. And so I think that in some cases, what you're describing is more of like a full spectrum of CBD oil. So an isolate is not really giving the full benefit of all of the medicinal qualities because it pulls itself out from the rest of the strand, and the rest of the strand is so beneficial. And so I think that is an important piece that people are looking at, is that full spectrum oils.
See, what happens is people think, 99.9% CBD, it must be really strong and really good. But no, it means it's all by itself. It
doesn't have the benefit. So when they're looking at,
we call it the entourage effect. And that's what you'll see as you do your research and read about CBD, full spectrum CBD, that is. It's called the entourage effect. And that's kind of the idea that the sum of all parts are greater than the whole. And it's
right.
We all work together. It's the idea that 2 guys can do the work of 3 guys.
Right. So when they're looking at a bottle, then they're looking for the words like full spectrum,
Yes.
or that
Yeah.
helps to give them an indicator. Does it
Yeah.
usually say on the bottle what the extraction process is, or is that something that you kind of got to dig a little deeper and probably go on their website and do a little research?
Yeah, it's B. You're going to want to do some research ahead of any buying. CBD is not an impulse buy, unless you happen to talk to somebody who really knows the product and they have something good, street fairs or what have you. There's all kinds of places you run into people that are
Yeah.
selling CBD. But yeah, you will really have to do your own research to find out what type of extraction method. And then regarding full spectrum, which we'll get to in just a second, let's back up one step. So we talk about isolate and then the in-between zone between full spectrum and isolate, which is broad spectrum.
Broad spectrum. Okay.
Broad spectrum. Now, broad spectrum is number one, the primary thing that needs to occur in order to be broad spectrum is the THC needs to be completely removed. Zero THC. Now, in full spectrum, we're going to see trace amounts of THC, and those are going to lend to that entourage effect we discussed earlier. So broad spectrum is going to have zero THC, which is an advertising edge for people who want to try to cater to folks who don't understand that there are trace amounts that absolutely won't do anything in terms of a psychoactive reaction. So people who feel like they will possibly fail a UA, and they say, oh, well, zero THC is more safe. Well, you're not going to fail a UA with the minuscule amount of THC found in full spectrum. So you're really not gaining anything, but what you're losing is a little bit of efficacy that tiny bit of THC presents if you go with broad spectrum. Broad spectrum also will eliminate many of the lipids and the fatty components that help it bond with the body. Here's a good example. Speaking of full spectrum oil, it's going to be like a Vaseline. It's really slippery and smooth, and it'll melt in your hands. A broad spectrum is going to be like a tree sap that's hard and sticky.
Sticky, yeah.
Hard and sticky, and it's not going to absorb in the body like a Vaseline would rapidly absorb, or even like chocolate would just melt in your hand and kind of absorb into your skin. And that's the same with the full spectrum gold grade hemp extract that we are utilizing. So that demonstrates high lipids, which means it's got great bioavailability. It's going to bond with the body really easily. And that's a huge benefit too, because now you're not wasting time waiting for it to affect you, which is another problem in the market. We see, all kinds of flavors, candy apple and cinnamon and bubblegum flavor this and that.
Right.
And these are all things the body has to work through just to get to the beneficial ingredients,
Right, exactly.
So in contrast, what we do at Orozona Oils is only 2 ingredients go in our products. It's the hemp extract and a delivery oil that also has tremendous benefits. We have one of 3 that you can choose from. But just 2 ingredients because the body can easily recognize them and easily put them to work.
And utilize it, yeah. And so what about the plants themselves? Like, I imagine just like anything, I mean, there's a difference, between, and I don't know that this is really a good comparison, but in my brain, I think of like farm fish versus wild caught.
Yeah.
And I think, they could both be salmon,
Yes.
but the reality is a farm salmon versus a wild caught salmon, the quality and the vitamins and the nutrients and the wild caught is going to be far more superior than farm fish. So when you're utilizing, or when people are utilizing manufacturing from these hemp plants, I imagine the quality of the hemp plant, is there like a way that it's determined that, there's no pesticides being used? How does that come to play? Because I don't ever see like organic or anything like that on a CBD oil.
Yeah, and there are, so organic is going to come down to a practice of how it's grown, without the use of pesticides, or chemical pesticides or fertilizers. And even the USDA, you have a certain percentage that it can be and still qualify as organic. But you can use GMO seeds and grow them without these fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides for that matter, and still be considered organic. So it really comes down to how you grow the food, whether it's hemp or lettuce, you know.
Right.
So, and that is proven through testing. Just to
Yeah.
answer, take it to the conclusion, then you would take that finished product and have it tested by a third party who would tell you, yes, there's this or that pesticide in this product, this sample, or no, there's not. It's clean, which all of our stuff is tested. And it's coming off farms that are practicing organic growing methods in Europe. And we choose this European grown hemp because they've been doing it for the longest, essentially, about 30 years worth of research and development. And they have been able to come up with strains of hemp that demonstrate high CBD qualities and low THC qualities that kind of grow more like the cannabis plant with more flowering activity, because that's where the CBD is more rich. And so it's just, through cultivation practices, they've developed some really high potency CBD strains. And that's what we're utilizing for our full spectrum hemp extract. And they are testing anywhere between 22 and 26% total CBD, which is very high in a full spectrum oil that is not further distilled like a broad spectrum to raise that CBD percentage. And we're finding that 25% range is, it seems to be the sweet spot. I've talked to folks who have used other CBDs that in the full spectrum range, maybe a 16 or a 12%, and they're just not as effective as a 25%. So let's talk about that for a second. Another analogy about how to understand, this full spectrum variance is, think of the gas pump. And you can buy various octanes of gasoline for your car, and the car's going to run on all of them. But you're going to pay a different price, and they're going to be different strengths, if you will, different refinement. Or think of alcohol. You can buy a beer that's 2.3%, or you can buy a beer that's 9% alcohol, right? And it's still 12 ounces of beer. So we look at that now to compare it to full spectrum. Let's say we have a 500 milligram bottle of full spectrum oil from company XYZ, and then ours, for instance, Orozona's 500 milligram bottle. And they're both going to have 500 milligrams of hemp extract in them, but one of them is going to have 25%, and the other one's going to have 12% or 10%. So one's going to be twice as strong, even though they're both 500 milligrams of hemp extract. So
Yeah,
you see
that's
what I mean?
interesting.
It becomes,
Yeah.
what is the percentage of the active ingredient? And that is often very difficult to ascertain.
Yeah, and very confusing, I think,
Yes.
for people in general. And so one of the reasons I think a lot of people, will utilize, particularly for pets and being in the business that I am, is people will usually reach out and look for CBDs, particularly for stress factors and calming effects. And I think over like this past year, particularly with COVID and so many people being home with their dogs in particular, one of the things that we see in the industry is that, at least in my area, is an increased of dogs that are that have separation anxiety, because when COVID hit, everybody got a dog, and they brought home a dog and whatever, but we
Yeah.
never left
Yeah.
our houses. And the dogs were never left alone. They were never put in kennels. They were always, with their people. But as people started going back to work and or starting to get out more frequently and stuff like that, we begin to see an increased anxiety and stress in their dogs. And so this is where like CBD oil kind of comes to play, I think, for a lot of individuals. And so how does the CBD oil work in those particular cases? How does it actually, is it through like neurological channels that kind of create this calming effect for them, or how does that actually work?
Yeah, that's kind of the end result. Is it does work on a neurological level to help calm. And one of the reasons that happens, and this is systemically, This is one of the reasons we see all kinds of people benefit and animals benefit from CBD, is that CBD's job is to bring balance to the body. Now, it does that by feeding the cells. So with a dog with anxiety, we're having some cellular activity that is disruptive. And the thought impulses are rapid and they're colliding with one another, and it creates this sense of angst and anxiety. And so CBD will go in there and essentially feed those cells so that they can calm down, get the message about who they are, and then perform that function more effectively. And it does that for every system of the body. It kind of is the food for what we call the endocannabinoid system, which is the governor of the central nervous system, whether it's humans or animals, horses, pet, dogs, cats. So when you feed that endocannabinoid system, balance is the result systemically. So if your issue is anxiety, that's where you're going to find that balance, that difference occur. If your imbalance is maybe gastrointestinal issues, why then your animal will find balance by consuming CBD, because it's feeding the cells, and those are the cells that are miscommunicating, and so there's problems. So we feed them, and things smooth out, and they get their job done properly.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And so the other thing, and I can note that I can contest to this, is pain. I met you a couple of years ago at an event. I think that's how we met.
Yeah.
And I tried your oils, and I find them to be I have an autoimmune issue with chronic pain issues. And so I have, received many injections, at the doctor's office, trying to curtail and kill and numb and do whatever it needs to take to help with chronic pain issues. But I will say the one thing that, I do tend to get like short-term relief from that medical procedure and whatnot. But it's your CBD oils that actually is an immediate relief. It's like just automatic. I can do it, rub it on the area that I have pain, and have immediate relief. And so I know that for my own self. So I also know that contributes to with my animals. And more recently, I had a dog that had some surgery done just earlier this week, and she has probably about 4 or 5 inches cut with stitches. And if you've ever had stitches, you know how itchy and the around the incision is going to be painful, and you get your dog scratching and itching and stuff. And I think about like dogs that have had that have been spay or something like that, because it happens all the time. But I put some CBD oil on both sides of the incision, not directly necessarily on the wound, but it kind of seeps on that, because I believe the CBD oils also have other proprietary benefits, such as, it's got healing benefits, antimicrobials and bacterial and things of that nature. Right. But I put the oils on her incisions, and I know, she's like acting like, oh, it doesn't. The first day when she had the surgery, she was like totally like, don't even come near me. Don't try and pet me. You could see how incredibly like she was like in pain. And then I just put the CBD oil, and it was like in 15 minutes, you could just see her whole body just kind of relaxed. So I think pain, like I said, I mean, I noticed that was one of the side effects that I get utilizing your CBD oils. And I have
Wonderful.
used
Yeah.
other ones, and I have thought, I don't feel the same effect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is where that quality of understanding, like, really a quality piece of, of a product, and not just, something that you buy at 7-Eleven.
Yes,
Not to
exactly.
say, I don't know what sells at 7-Eleven, but I
Yeah.
just can't imagine that it really has, the same qualities. But that
Well,
is
no, I can't either.
something, yeah. So I think that a lot of people utilize, as I said, CBD oils for stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
But for me, the key factor was um, pain. So let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Is there a difference in CBD oil for people versus pets?
Well, that is different for different companies. For us, there is no difference. It really becomes a matter of labeling and who we're selling the product to. So the animals get the same human quality product. So for us, there is no difference. Now, for other companies, they have ingredients that may be harmful for pets in their human line, and so that wouldn't be recommended for us
Mm.
because of the simplicity of what we're offering and just 2 ingredient blends. We are sure that our oils are all good for animals and humans.
Yeah, I think simple is best. If you're putting stuff in there that can be harmful, particularly to a pet, makes me really wonder about the quality for the human, because you should be able to kind of cross. I think of that. When I think of that, I think of things like when they're putting the flea and tick medication on the back of your dog, and it says, if you get this on your skin, immediately wash it off. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, that's a danger signal. So
Yeah.
if
Me
you're
too.
right, and so if you have a CBD oil that is saying that that it's not meant for pets for whatever reason, it
Yeah.
kind of is a red flag for me.
Yeah, and then on the other side of that, there are companies that strictly manufacture for pets, and you wouldn't want to take their bacon flavored CBD oil,
Oh yeah. My dogs line up. All I gotta say is, I always ask who wants their CBD, and they all come running. And
There you go.
there's no flavor in yours.
Yeah,
Or at least if you have flavor, I don't get ones with flavor in it.
yeah.
Um,
Well, they,
but
they do have flavors, but there are no flavorings added. So we're just dealing with cold pressed oils. Um,
right.
yeah.
And my dogs come running. They
I
line
love it.
up. I just give them one, and the next one comes, and yeah, they all yeah. There's no bad taste there. They're all like for it.
They
So
know what's
yeah,
good for them.
yeah. So what about some of the other health qualities CBD oil can contribute to?
Yeah.
So I look at it kind of like I would maybe like a supplement as well,
Mhm.
um, meaning, you know, when you're taking a supplement, it benefits you from a cellular level,
Yes.
and it can benefit some things that maybe you're not even like, aware of.
Yeah.
When I think of things like coconut oil,
Mhm.
it's got benefits. It's brain food,
Yes.
and so and then it's an antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal, so it's got a lot
Yeah.
of medicinal qualities and stuff like that. And
That's
so
right.
when I was working in the in the health field there, uh, we would talk about coconut oil as being sometimes beneficial as a precursor for people who would begin like Alzheimer's and things of that nature, because you want
Right.
the healthy fatty acids up into the brain. And so
Yeah.
that was kind of one of those side effects of utilizing a coconut oil was, to help. It's not a cure or anything of that nature,
Right.
but
Right.
it is a benefit, a healthful benefit of helping to keep Alzheimer's either at a slow pace or whatever. So how does
Yeah.
CBD oil compare in the world of supplements, and what kind of benefits do your clients see?
Yeah. Well, first off, sometimes I talk to people who say, I've heard about CBD and it sounds like great stuff, but I don't have any problems with me, so I don't take it. You know, I say, well, that's unfortunate. Do you have cells? Well, yeah. Well, then you can benefit from it because this is a unique cellular food that you may not know where there's imbalances occurring in your body. But if you're taking a food that's going to support all of your cells, then it's a win-win situation. Um,
Exactly.
and that comes down to things as simple as fingernails growing back quicker. I have to get haircuts more often. My wounds heal quickly because I always put CBD into them, and the cells are recovering faster. They're growing back quicker because I'm feeding them. And so, what's the response?
Right.
Growth.
I'm gonna
You
start feeding the crow's line underneath my eyes.
Yeah, well, our body balm is good for that. It's got some body to it that'll stay on. But to further answer your question, some of the types of people who are our repeat customers do include cancer patients and post-cancer patients, epileptics, folks who suffer from Hashimoto's, autoimmune disorders, um, degenerative neuropathy, diabetics, arthritis, folks with GI issues, migraine issues. And it's not just people, but pets as well. Again, I said it earlier, but it crosses over. This is a similar, the body has a similar reaction whether you're on four legs or two. Um, and with pets, we do see high rates of cancer, high rates of anxiety. It's just off the charts. And, one has to speculate why that is, wonder about the quality of the food they're consuming for every meal and what that may be
Right.
doing to the rest of the body.
Right.
That's a story for another time.
Another time.
The fact is that CBD would be feeding those cells and helping to regenerate the body that's suffering in those areas. And so yeah, again, those are the types of people who are buying on a consistent basis and utilizing our products. We've got a tremendous success story with a former Hollywood stuntman and movie star named Chris Robinson. Funny story, he was actually the doctor in General Hospital back in the 70s and 80s. He played a doctor.
But which doctor was he?
He was Dr. Rick. He was the main
Oh,
dude.
Rick Spring. But yeah, Doctor. What? But was that Rick Springfield?
Well, you're thinking music now. So Dr. Rick on General Hospital. Yeah, and he made a commercial with Vicks 44 where it starts into the commercial and he says, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. And then he goes
Uh,
on to plug their products. We've done a fun video with him showing his story, which he's 84 years old now and been in chronic pain
holy
since he's
crap!
almost 40. And this is the only thing that's touching his pain. He's been on hydrocodone, Dilaudid, cortisol shots to the spine, just all kinds of things for the last number of years. And finally, our CBD is touching the pain because it's so strong enough, full spectrum blend that's not crowded with other ingredients, and it goes right to work. And he's walking like he's never walked before. I just talked to him yesterday, and he says, "You won't believe it. I walked all the way through Ace Hardware." And he's thrilled about this because he's been hunched over and in pain for so long.
Sure.
So what we're doing with Chris is we're helping to relieve inflammation where he's had tight muscles. The inflammation is being relieved, so pain is relieved, and we're also on a neurological level rewriting pain signals. We're breaking up those pain signals that have been etched in his brain for so long. The CBD is promoting neuroplasticity on a neurological level that helps to rewrite those pain signals or those brain waves so those pain signals aren't as strong and they can actually begin to diminish. So it's a wonderful thing that's going on.
So, do you think that if people try the oils and they don't feel like that they're really getting any benefit for it, and so I'm wondering if either A, they need to go to a stronger dosage for whatever purpose,
Yes.
and or if it's like I work sometimes with herbal things like ashwagandha and things of that nature. And I always kind of tell people, look, it's kind of one of those things that kind of, it's like you start using it, and then whatever it is, the reason that you're taking the supplement for, it's like all of a sudden you're not really thinking about it anymore.
Uh-huh.
And so you don't even really realize that it's doing anything
Yeah.
until they go, well, it's not doing anything, and then they stop taking it,
That's
and
right.
then all the symptoms come back, and then that's when they identify and say, it's doing something.
That's
And
right.
so I imagine CBD oil kind of sneaks up on you on the same
That's
on the
right.
same way in some cases.
That's right. And it is stored on a cellular level, and it does take time to accumulate if you're coming in fresh. It does take time to accumulate in the cells. It's used and used up and passed on. So it is important to take it on a regular basis, consistently. And like you said, finding the right dosage. How much does my body need to respond in the way I need it to respond, or my pet, you know? And you'll see the difference, if you're consistent with it. Even if it's in your animal, you'll see, if they have a hard time getting up and down, maybe their hips are sore, that kind of a thing. They'll be more of a pop in their step, and they can get up and down more easily, and they'll recognize, oh yes, something is.
Yeah.
But it does require that daily use and consistency at the
Yeah.
right dosage.
At the right
And
dosage. I
we do
think that's
have
a
a
key component. So when
yeah,
people are giving it to their animals, is there a certain dosage? Obviously, that's going to be on your bottle, so
yeah,
they'll understand, like if they have a small dog versus a large dog, how much
yeah,
CBD oil to be giving them.
that's right.
Um,
And we do
so
have a dosing chart on our website that folks can look at, and really kind of hone in, at least the starting point. This isn't rocket science. This isn't pharmaceuticals. So this is something that's gentle on the body, and it's important to understand that. There's zero toxicity. There's no fear of overdosing and having some negative, even a cleansing crisis is highly unusual. But certainly not a crisis of toxicity, because there is no toxicity. And there's
right.
also, because it has been in mankind's diet for thousands of years, literally, there are no known allergies to hemp.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah.
So yeah, now there may be somebody out there that proves me wrong and says, hey, I'm allergic, but
Right.
they
Far
are
and few in
anomalous.
between.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
uh,
Very
so
interesting.
it's very safe to experiment with, and that goes for you and your pet. It's safe to experiment. We don't want to waste it because it is not cheap, but it's not something that we need to be careful not to burn our insides with it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I think there's just so many benefits to a CBD oil. So where can people go to get your oils and stuff like that? Is
Yeah.
there
Yeah. So we're orozonaoils.com, and you
or
can.
is there okay, so hang on, let me I think I can put your website up here.
Okay. Yeah, and folks can
Um,
go there and shop and see the variety of oils we do have available, which is something that is unique to Orozona Oils. We have three different, with an end, S at the end there, Christine. Orozona Oils, plural.
with a S. Gotcha. Thank you for catching that.
So folks can learn about the different delivery oils that we're offering, which all have tremendous health benefits all by themselves. And they can learn about CBD and these various extraction methods and the isolates and things like this that we've discussed today. They can read about it in a little more detail. Um, yeah,
Very cool. Well, I want to just say thank you so much for coming and kind of talking about the CBD oils and pets. As I said, I really think that that people can get great benefit, but hopefully this kind of helps dispel some maybe fear for those people who were a little nervous to give their dog the CBD oil because
yeah,
they thought, they would get them, uh, so that they were kind of on that stoned basis or
yeah,
have that high, and
yeah,
or the fact that they have maybe tried CBD oil before and they really hadn't noticed the difference, and that certainly can pertain to the quality. So
that's right.
quality in anything is definitely going to make a difference in and whether it's going to be work or not. And
That's
as I
right.
said, I know for myself, using your oils has been tremendously beneficial for me specifically. I get the dog one, and I use the dog one.
Sure, there's no problem with that.
But being the fact that it doesn't matter if it's dog or human, it all works out well. So,
That's right.
and like I said, my dogs love it. I do it, from a supplement standpoint.
Mhm.
But again, thank you. And so they can go to Orozona. And how did you get that name? Just because it's so unique.
Orozona Oils. So it's actually
Orozona.
Spanish. Oro meaning gold, and zona is zone. So it's gold zone oils. And so
Gotcha.
we are focusing on gold grade oils when it comes to the hemp extract. It's actually, when I buy it, it's gold grade hemp extract. So it's kind of playing on that idea. And then also playing on the idea that what we're doing is of a high caliber, like gold. So we have the gold standard.
Right.
So we say Orozona Oils is gold standard CBD. That's our tagline. And so
Beautiful.
it's just, yeah, the gold being, 24 karat. It's pure. It's
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
all these
It's
wonderful ideas. And the
right.
oil
Yeah.
actually looks gold. It's golden in color. So
So again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I think it was really great information for everybody. And if
one,
anybody has any questions, they can reach out to you through your website there if they want to
absolutely.
make any purchases. I purchase the, let's see, my camera is here. I get the 500, and it has the black seed oil in there,
Uh-huh.
which is a little unique to your brand.
Yes, it is.
Uh, yeah, so that's, and I take it back. Yours actually does say organic on the label.
Yes, well, it's true.
It says organic, yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, so all right, well, great. Thank you so much.
Well, the pleasure was mine. Thank you. I hope your viewers find this helpful, and they can move forward with confidence purchasing CBD products for their pets and for themselves.
Great. Thank you very much. All
My
right.
pleasure.